Joe's Inner Child Podcast.
So thank you so much again for speaking with me. I am so excited to chat with you a second time. Before I get into asking you about Animaniacs in Concert, I wanted to say, I know you saw the video where Tohoru as Shredder ate the pizza that you
Yeah.
So I had interviewed Tohoru again right before this, and he was telling me about he went and got all these things, and that he had a commercial director do it, so he had to hide the like labels for all of the food things. But he said he finished the slice of pizza. He said he ate the whole thing.
No kidding. Well,
he said he had a little bit of gut problems the next day, but he said it wasn't bad.
that. Well, I was incredibly flattered that a real life Shredder would listen to a whack job Ninja Turtle. That was pretty cool. Thank you very much for that. That was cool.
No, thank you, man. That was awesome.
Good.
But I want to ask you about Animaniacs in Concert. I'm so excited about that because, like, first of all, like, how random is it that last time I interviewed you, I still lived in Toledo, and you're from Livonia,
right?
And now we've moved to Arizona, and you're going to be in
Phoenix, Arizona, yeah, in August,
and we're going to be there. So it's like
Great.
It's like we were so close, and then we moved down here, and my fiance is like, man, it would have been great if we could have met him. And then now it's like, well, he's coming to Arizona.
Oh, great, Joe. I'm so glad, because it's really a lot of fun. And that will be the first show that Randy and I do on this next bunch of shows. That show was postponed. It was supposed to be, I think, January of this year, I think. So yeah, it was postponed for another 8 months. But Randy and I are just so thrilled to be back doing it. And I love Phoenix. My kid went to Arizona State, so I love Phoenix and Tempe and that whole area. It's just beautiful.
So you're starting the first date is going to be in
August 28th.
August 28th, Phoenix. Yep. I think it's 7 p.m. What can you tell me about exactly what people can expect from this Animaniacs in Concert? Like, obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory, title-wise. But is this something for all ages? Is it? Can you tell me a little bit about the theatrics of it?
Yes. In fact, in answer to your question, sort of in order, yes. And here I go. It is absolutely a family show. And when we say that, it is a family show. However, it is not for little kids. By that, I mean, it's not Barney, and it's not, there are some PG-13 moments, because, as you can imagine, when you get a bunch of creative people together who are acting like a bunch of kids, things get pretty fun, and sometimes a light shade of blue. But it really is, as they say, for children of all ages, because the very nature of popular animation is the extent to which it affects people in their childhood nostalgia gene. If I start saying, hello, Joe, look what happens to your handsome face. And you can't help it. It's just like if Mel Blanc were here and said, what's up, Doc? Or you're despicable. Or Seth MacFarlane started riffing as Stewie. You can't not smile, assuming you enjoy the show. And when characters become iconic, not my word, critics, Pinky, Yakko, Raphael, Carl Weezer to some extent, those are becoming iconic characters, regardless of who the actor is. I realize, look, I don't draw them, I don't write them, but when it works seamlessly at that level, they transcend generations. So that's why the show is unique in that it appeals to literally children of all ages, or the child in people of all ages. because those shows were, the humor was pretty subversive and pretty smart when you were a little guy. I would submit there are probably jokes you get watching old Animaniacs episodes that you didn't get the first time. And that was completely and utterly by design. That was the edict from Steven Spielberg, Tom Ruegger, to as an homage to Looney Tunes, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Jetsons, Flintstones, to not write stuff like Barney or Teletubbies. It's not about that. It's not even, it's more like a more subversive Sesame Street. That is to say, there were jokes that are supposed to make you go, oh my God, that's naughty. And they work. So it really is great when we see people your age and their kids, and then people your parents' age. Inevitably at that show, Joe, you will see very little kids and you'll see people older than me. It's crazy how specifically Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain appeal to such an incredible breadth of ages. And so what you're going to see are probably 20 songs, all written by my genius partner, Randy Rogel, who wrote United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, and it's a great big universe, and we're all really puny. We're just tiny little specks about the size of Mickey Rooney. It's remarkable. And so we do those songs. We do a number of them with the giant cartoon behind us, and I will lip sync, and the music is coming from the stage, but the voice is coming from the stage, but it's in sync with the cartoon. It's a pretty cool parlor trick. It works really well. But also the information and the stories about how the songs came about, songs that never made it, that to this day, I listen to Randy because I've got the best seat in the house. And I think, Jesus Christ, how did that song not end up in Animaniacs? And of course, Randy's writing songs for the new Animaniacs. It's very entertaining, informative. We do Maurice is going to be there. So we have Pinky and the Brain.
Nice.
And Andy has written a song specifically for Pinky and the Brain that has never been produced except in the live show. And it's really clever. The way it's set up, the way it happens is really great. Staged beautifully. In terms of what you'll see on stage, nothing spectacular, except a couple of old Hollywood dogs doing their thing. And so I kind of like that. Obviously, as a performer, it's great just to be up there and relying on your talent to do the show. There are no pyrotechnics, no fabulous staging. We don't have a crazy budget. We have a wonderful licensing deal with Warner Brothers, but they don't put any money into it. So in my view, kind of like voice acting, Joe, it's the purest form of entertainment. It's like you go see Itzhak Perlman, not comparing myself to Itzhak, but you go see Itzhak Perlman or Yo-Yo Ma or Joni Mitchell or whomever to sing or play. Usually it's not about bombs and explosions, and it's not about that. It's about the pure joy of Randy's music, the nostalgia, and some really cool inside baseball stuff that so far fans, and as they say, fans and critics alike, seem to really enjoy it. If you go to our website, animaniacslive.com, you'll see the kind of feedback and the places which we performed, and it's pretty cool. You're not going to see 10,000 people. It'll probably be, I don't know, 700-800 people. I don't know how big that venue is, but it's not about that. I would love it if it were, but it's just about people who are fans of really great novelty music, some of which has become kind of embedded in the culture of the world. I think you can argue that Yakko's world, irrespective of the language of the person listening, doesn't take you long to go, holy shit, that's crazy. And so there are several of those songs that have become pretty popular with, 20, 30 million views on YouTube. And it's cool to see how they were made, break them down. We do a Q&A. So it's great fun. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you and your fiance think about it.
Oh yeah, we can't wait. We're so excited. It actually
What?
lines up really perfectly because she has like a work seminar for the 2 days before that. So that we're going there to a resort anyway, and it's literally like 10-15 minutes from where we're going to be going to see you.
Beautiful.
So I'm really excited. And the thing is, like, for people, at least from my perspective, like, your passion for the the joy that you're seeing in the audience's faces and their eyes is a lot more important than pyrotechnics, like you said. Like, yeah, like you are the element that makes this, people are coming to see you. People are coming to see Rob Paulsen. I know that you say you're an old Hollywood dog, but a lot of people know your name, man. And that's because you've made a lot of people smile. So like,
well, that's due in no small part to friends like you. I mean, I know this is the second time that you've been kind enough to speak with me. And look, I do this a lot. I have a great publicist and all of that. But the only way that people do take notice of me or do say, God, I really dig the passion in that, this guy's the real deal, is because you give me the opportunity. I don't have your skill. I don't have the constant appeal to my fan base. And so you and others who are kind enough to let me get this out are the reason. I'm really good at my job, but I ought to be. I've been doing this forever. And I love it as much now as when I first moved out here 43 years ago from Michigan. But you got me. And that's why I love talking to you, because you do get what I'm about. This effusiveness, this excitement that people hear or see from me via you is utterly authentic, Joe. I do get the most incredible kick out of seeing people in the audience do this at Randy's music or laugh at the stories, or this is the God's truth. Sometimes they get tearful because they're listening to it or watching it with their kids and they're going, oh my God, I remember when I was my little boy's age or my little girl's age, how great that we're doing this together. And I'm so fucking tired of COVID. We're doing something that's fun and joyful. And the truth is, I'm in the happy business. Randy and I are blue collar workers in the dream factory, and we are becoming a little more well-known, due in no small part to social media, but we're becoming known for the right reasons. It's because we truly love making people happy. And the great thing is, once you sit down and once, the downbeat happens, it's effortless because we've done it so many times and we get nervous before we go on, not because we're going to screw up, because we're going, oh my God, I can't wait to show the audience what we can do. They're going to have so much fun. And that is why it's nice that we're becoming well-known, because it's purely because we know how happy it's going to make you. It's the coolest thing in the world.
And when fans I remember putting the pizza video up and the interaction between you and Tohoru, people love that. A lot of the things
Wasn't that something?
Yeah, when people were saying things in the comments, they're like, these guys don't take themselves too seriously. Like, this is what all voice actors should be like. This is what, if every actor, did this, Hollywood would be different. And so it's like people, they get that sense from you now because not now, but because of all the things, like watch your TED Talk, you've got that air about you. You can tell how much you care about them and not just yourself. And I think that's probably why they're like, well, let's go see Rob Paulsen instead of somebody else that they may like the voice of but haven't seen. Your book, Voice Lessons, I think that is a huge like basis for like what I'm trying to say and in the way that you feel, because I haven't gotten to read it yet, but I know that the entire, you told me about everything behind it and what you've learned. I wanted to know if there's anything that you feel like you didn't put in the book that you wanted to like talk about, like a experience that you might have had with a fan or anything.
Yeah, in
a
fact,
point.
I don't think this ended up in the book, but I am a big hockey fan, and I grew up in Michigan. The only other thing I wanted to be besides an actor was a hockey player, and I realized quite early that I had neither the talent, temperament, nor dental insurance to make a nickel as a hockey player. So I'm glad that I didn't go down that road. But as a result of my love of hockey, and I played hockey my whole life, I got involved with a team out here of a bunch of actors, Matthew Perry, Jason Priestley, Richard Dean Anderson, Dave Coulier, all of whom grew up in Canada or back east, like me in Michigan. And David E. Kelly is from Massachusetts. He's on the team, and Adam Baldwin is from Chicago. And all of us played on this team, and the charities were always geared around children. And we would play the old timers of National Hockey League teams around the country. I mean, spectacular, utterly mind blowing. So I got to play hockey with all the people I worshiped as a kid. And they all, of course, had kids, and some cases grandkids. And every one of them loved Ninja Turtles. And every one of them loved, Jimmy Neutron, all that. So it was incredibly spectacular for me to find that I'd be in a locker room with all these famous people, Michael J. Fox, and everybody was there to see them. Understandably, I was there for the ostensible reason we were doing it. I was there for the kids. Now, of course, the kids, especially little girls, wanted Jason Priestley's autograph and all that. But people freaked out over the fact that Raphael was in Calgary or Boston or Dallas or San Jose, or Saskatoon. Ninja Turtle. So when we played the Red Wing, and this isn't in the book, but it is a huge part of, I think, why I am and why I behave the way I do as an adult. And to the extent that you and others consider me a celebrity, here's why I am how I am. Two really wonderful parents who knew. My mother used to say, and she was spot on, honey, if your horn is worth tooting, somebody will toot it for you. And she was right. I learned very early that confidence and humility can always go hand in hand. You can be utterly confident, but it doesn't mean you have to say, let me show you how badass I am. You can think that, and that's what Randy and I think when we're ready to go on the stage. We are going to kill him. But that's what you paid for. However, my hero, let me back up, my idol, and there's a difference. My idol growing up was a guy named Gordy Howe, who was the hockey player's hockey player, Wayne Gretzky's idol. Played for the Red Wings forever. Mr. Hockey. We got to play the Red Wing Old Timers at Joe Louis Arena in 1991. And I knew Gordy was going to be there. My parents were there because they were still living in Michigan. So they came down to see the hockey game in Detroit. Of course, I was living out here. Go back there. And I was in the locker room. We're having a practice the day before with all this old timers and us and media day, stuff like that. I had 1 million Ninja Turtle pictures. So I'm in the locker room, and Gordy Howe, the hockey player that makes all the other hockey players go like this, at 65 or 63, comes into the locker room and says, which one of you knuckleheads is a Ninja Turtle? And Matthew Perry looks at me and says, holy shit. That's right. He's the turtle, Gordy. And I said, that's me. And he said, my God, my grandkids love that goddamn Ninja Turtle. And so we hit it off right away. Now, Gordy was like other athletes who transcend the sport. He really did. He had not been a professional hockey player for decades. It didn't matter. Gordy was the kind of guy who makes grown men go, oh my God, Yeah. Moreover, he knew the power of his celebrity, and he knew that he could either make a friend a fan for life or break someone's heart by the way he behaved, even if he had a reason to be in not a very good mood. He knew that that's not the fan's problem. The fact that his dog is sick, his wife is sick, his car isn't working, he had a fight with his kids, whatever, that's his own bullshit. Once he's in that circumstance in which he's going to meet somebody who may have wanted to meet him since they were a child and now they're 60, that it may be it's not the first time he's met people, but it's the first time that person has met Gordy, and probably the only time. And he had an ethos that got me right away. So I had an experience that's not in the book in which I went from being, or Gordy went from being my idol to my hero in 5 seconds. And it was the following. We really hit it off in Detroit. We kept in touch. Mr. and Mrs. Howe treated me and my parents like family. And I'm sure they did that with a lot of other people. But Gordy and Colleen invited me to play in a softball tournament 2 or 3 years after the game in Detroit. Hey, Robbie, why don't you bring your turtle pictures? We're doing a kids thing in Vancouver. Love to have you come. It's 3 days, play golf, be with the kids, play baseball, whatever. And so we were doing an autograph thing. And Gordy said, you sit next to me, youngster. I'm gonna sit, and I'd sit on your lap. It's Gordy freaking Howe. And we were signing autographs for a couple hours, and a young man about my age, maybe 30, I was only 32 or 33, it was about 30, after waiting an hour and change in line, finally got up to Gordy. I was signing all my turtle stuff, and so Gordy signed a puck, and the young man said, it was really heartfelt. He said, thank you so much, Mr. Howe. Your hand must be really getting tired. And at this time, Gordy was about 65. So he literally had signed probably 1 million autographs in his life. But as I referenced before, he gets who he is, and he knows the power of his legend. And he put that Sharpie down. And this is when he went from being an idol to a hero. He looked at that young man and he said, my pleasure, son. I've worked way too hard for this privilege. And I thought, you know what? That is how you behave. If you cultivate anything, Joe, resembling celebrity, that is how you behave. If you've had a bad day, if you're not feeling good, you just got off the phone, you're fighting with your wife or your husband or whatever. Part of being a professional, moreover, part of cultivating something that people say, wow, this guy is worth spending money to go see. That's how you behave. It wasn't, hey, no problem, which would have been fine. Would have been, hey, sure, do it all the time. It's part of the deal. No, he said, it's my pleasure. I've worked really hard for this privilege. And that's what he considered it until he died at 88 years old. And it is. You have put me in a very privileged position twice now. You have lots of people to talk to. And the fact is that you've chosen to speak with me again. And the people who are going to come see us with you and your sweet fiance in August have chosen at that evening to spend their money. It's not an expensive ticket, but more importantly, they're choosing to spend their time with us. And it's important to them, which means it's got to be way more important to me. And it is. And that incident or that experience was not in the book only because I had so many other things that were more germane to my story. And my co-writer, Mike Fleeman, did all the heavy lifting and I listened to him. We have a good book because he did all of it. So I was not about, it's not about ego. It wasn't about saying, no, I really want to have this in. It was about saying, you tell me which of all of this works best for the way you're going to construct the book. And he was right. It works beautifully. It's very readable. It's a great audio book, but it was put together perfectly because he knows what he's doing. So I love telling that story because you know what? The truth is, I've now worked with Steven Spielberg 6 times. We're back doing Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain again. It was his call to hire us, Maurice, Tress, Jess, and me, to do this again. It is a hit again. Unqualified. It's huge on Hulu. It's huge.
is.
Number
It
one
is.
show on Hulu. He's the same way. I've seen Mr. Spielberg. This is also not in the book. He has the same grasp of the power of his legend. And so when he comes down and there are a bunch of people at an event who are going to meet Mr. Spielberg, it's all about you. He would say, Joe, it's such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much. I got to tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time with me. You know, I know it can get a little nutty. The whole time you're going, oh my God, Steven Spielberg is thanking me. But he's authentic about it. And case in point, when my son was with me at the launch party for Animaniacs, September of 1993, Mr. Spielberg, you know, I don't know, 200 people down there, the whole crew, actors on the lot at Warner Brothers, under the water tower. And Mr. Spielberg was making the rounds, comes up to me, Rob, God, thank you. Yakko's World, I can't believe, wow, we're so lucky to have you. Sees my son, who was 8 at the time. Is this your boy? I said, it is. This is Ash. He said, do you mind if we get a picture together? Now, this is different. This is important. Not would you like, would you mind? That immediately does two things. It puts me at ease because I don't have to ask. Of course I want a picture with him. He's Steven, pardon me, being Spielberg. But when he says, do you mind if we get a picture together? That immediately puts him sort of on my level. It's like if I came up to you and said, hey man, you got a great car. Do you mind if we get a picture by your car? Because you have a right to say, I'd prefer not to. He knows I'm not going to say no, but it makes him more approachable. And he knows that. And so I'll never forget it. And I've told that story just like with Gordy, I don't know, 100 times, and I'll tell it till I die, because that is how one, I believe, should model their behavior if they're to be considered a celebrity by people who are nice enough to watch their stuff and pay money to go see them. And I get paid well for my job. So I think when people start to believe that they're as big a deal as other people believe that they are, that's a problem. It certainly is for me as a fan. I can smell it a mile away and I don't like it. I don't believe it's appropriate. And if you're so famous that it's difficult to go to Starbucks by yourself, then you have to change your lifestyle. Just part of the deal. It doesn't mean that it's got to be difficult to not be able to go to Starbucks without causing a fuss. So you are very grateful and you say, wow, I've got a problem I never thought I'd have. I reckon I should have a personal assistant who goes to get me what I need. And if I go out in public, I have to be prepared. Maybe I should build in an extra hour to take selfies or to sign stuff. If I'm in a bad mood, or if I know I'm not going to be pleasant to be around in this day and age with your cell phone, and Rob shows up and Joe says, dude, Rob, I'm such a fan. You know what? Please, whatever. Not now. Okay. Jesus Christ. Click. Whoa. I thought this guy was great. He just blew me off. And man, so much for being a fan of Rob Paulsen. And that can happen. And you don't want to do that. It's just not appropriate. So that is all to say that I've had so many incredible examples of how to behave at a level which I will never reach. But if I were to die at this moment, apart from it being inconvenient for you, I've had a hell of a run. And to the extent that I am becoming a celebrity or a name people know, or they seek me out, they want to visit me, they want to see me perform, they want to meet me, then they're going to get nothing but what they should get, which is 100% focus and utter gratitude that I'm in the position that I find myself in. I've won the lottery, man.
You're incredible. Like the perspective you share, I feel like the way that you explain these stories, like even though they're not in your book, just hearing you spell out these stories is not just about, putting those people, Gordy Howe and Steven Spielberg in a different light, but it's genuinely like, here's a lesson on how to be a little more humble and better
Thank you.
human being. And I love it.
Yeah.
I know you have a podcast now.
Well, I had one for years that kind of went into different iterations, and now it's back. Thank you for asking. It's always been called for 10 years now, Talking Tunes with Rob Paulsen, TALKIN apostrophe TOONS. And people can, I think, hear old episodes. They're all free, of course, on Spotify. I think that's where they've ended up. The last iteration was on Nerdist, and it was an on-camera version, a 4-camera shoot in a studio. I think some of those may be available on Nerdist, or really lovely excerpts on YouTube. They're really fun. And yeah, I talked to all the people whom you or anyone else who likes cartoons or popular culture would want to talk to. Nancy Cartwright, Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy, Billy West, John DiMaggio, Tress McNeil, Tara Strong, Jen Hale, Kevin Michael Richards, you name it. Sometimes more than once. And now I'm on Esports Arena. For people who are gaming nuts, Esports Arena is broadcasts. I didn't realize this until the last couple of months. I mean, I know how popular games are. I had no idea, Joe, how popular watching like big time gamers, professional gamers play games.
Yeah, it's blown up in the last
oh my God.
years. Yeah,
And,
Twitch streamers and
yes.
gaming streamers. Yes.
So esports is on Twitch. At least my podcast is. So we did the first one with esports a couple of weeks ago. My lucky charm, Maurice LaMarche, my friend the brain, was on. And the next one is a week from tomorrow on the 15th with Billy West.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, people can watch. If they follow Esports Arena on Twitter at Esports Arena, or go to esportsarena.com and you can check out all that stuff. But I am now in partnership with Esports Arena, and the plan is to start doing these podcasts live at esports venues around the country. So it'll essentially be like a mini RobCon with whomever my guests are, but the audience is no different for video games than it is for cartoons. So it's pretty cool that esports has asked me to partner up with them. And we take fan questions in real time. So that's a little bit different. I can, as a result of Twitch, I can do my little dog and pony show, get a bunch of people interested, and they can actually question me and my guests in real time. So to that extent, it's like being at a con, only you can do it from England or South Africa. It's pretty neat. And people love it when Billy starts riffing as Philip J. Fry or Ren or Stimpy or the Red M&M or Goldberg or Doug. That's Billy. And he was Bugs in Space Jam. So when he starts riffing, they don't give a shit about me. They can go, oh my God, that's Billy West, So it's pretty cool. And thank you for asking. And people can, again, check out Esports Arena. And also, I will be publicizing it on my socials in the next week. I'm at Yakko Pinky, all one word, YAKKOPINKY on Twitter, Rob_Paulsen, SEN on Instagram, and Rob Paulsen, voice actor on Facebook, all of which will give you way more information than you'd ever want to know about yours truly. And of course, really check out Animaniacs Live, because there's a lot of cool videos. You'll get a really cool idea of what you're going to see. And all of those will give you access to when I'm going to be doing my podcast. Also, when I'll be appearing at conventions, like this weekend, I'll be in Indianapolis, and also our Animaniacs Concert schedule.
Nice. So that's a good way to kind of explain to everybody where they can find everything you've
Yeah.
got coming up. I had a couple of people that were commenting on your previous
Good.
conversation and were asking a couple of questions. Do you mind if I ask a couple of questions from the audience?
I insist.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. I figured you'd be good with it, but I want to make sure. Do you mind? You know?
No, that's what I mean. That's why you are a professional and why people want to talk to you, because it goes beyond being, it's just about being a decent person. Very quick little side. I just had to go out and, like I said, I broke down a little while ago, and not in person on my car. I wasn't crying. My car broke, had a little tire issue. So I went to fill it up, and I was waiting in line to get to use the air, the air thing, the air pump. And some older gentleman pulled in front of me, and I let him go use it. And then as he left, I said, "Sir, in the future, you might want to ask." I was here in line, and he didn't get nasty, but it was like, "Well, I figured blah, blah, blah." And I said, just ask next time. And it's about being decent. Had he talked to me, I would have said, "The reason I'm saying that, sir, is not to go after you. It's air and a tire. But in this day and age, and the way people are on a hair trigger because of COVID and politics and you name it, this is the sort of thing that some guy might have flipped out and kicked your car or delivered a good solid right hook to your 72-year-old head. And you're ended up you're going to be in the paper." I'm telling you, you just have to be thoughtful and kind, not lay down, but just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Were you in line? Oh, great. I'll pull in behind you." Just like you. "Hey, man, I got a couple of questions. I know what you're about. Do you mind if it's really that simple. So thank you, because by doing that, you're also showing your listeners how to behave. So thank you.
Well, let's get the listener questions out of the way.
Great.
Otherwise, I will talk forever.
Me too.
I have one question. It says, it's coming from, the username is Elric Returns. He asked, with live action adaptations popping up left and right these days on big and small screens, is there any character from your lengthy resume you'd feel particularly excited getting a live action treatment? Any one of your characters in particular you've been wanting to see brought to life in your lifetime?
Pinky.
In
a heartbeat. I think a Pinky and the Brain movie would kill. I really do. There are so many different ways it could go. I know that Looney Tunes are, of course, iconic, and LeBron James is iconic, and Space Jam is going to be a big deal. But as a standalone, I believe, and obviously it's easy for me to say, if Rocky and Bullwinkle had a live action, and they did, Robert De Niro was in it, and I don't know that it was that, I didn't see it, not because I didn't want to, I just have never saw it. But I believe, especially in light of the way Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs have exploded with the second iteration, I think that really would have a possibility. With a Steven Spielberg production with Warner Brothers, I think that would kill. And Mo and I know each other so well, and he can ask me all day long, "Pinky, are you pondering?" And I'll come up with a new one every time. That I really do believe that would be a fabulous live action adaptation. And again, it was Mr. Spielberg's call to hire Mo and me to do Pinky and the Brain again. It wasn't about stunt casting. It wasn't about hiring Peter Dinklage to be the Brain and Russell Brand to be Pinky. It wasn't about that. It was about authenticity. And he was right. The first thing that the press say when I'm discussing it with them is, "Oh my God, when you guys open your mouths, we're like, oh my God, it's them, it's that." It's important. And so I think we've got a pretty good example of the fact that it would be a really killer idea. So I know the Warner Brothers has discussed it in Amblin a couple of times. Who knows? It's expensive. I don't know. But personally, yeah, I think that's one I would love to do. And I think it would really work.
Spectacular. Is there anything like, just to kind of piggyback off that, is there anything specifically you'd like to see adventure wise or like story wise for Yakko? Or sorry, Yakko. I meant Pinky. Yeah.
I would really love to find some way. I mean, it's just so easy and it's teed up. I would love for there to be a recurring character who would be a pretty thinly veiled Donald Trump, and find all these wonderful ways to just get his ass kicked. Because I am usually not predisposed to discussing politics, but I am a very deeply patriotic, proud American. And people can vote one way or other, but what has happened as a result of, in my view, Donald Trump's misbehavior, and that's the one area where I have no problem wading into it, is that I don't believe there's any more un-American human than Donald Trump, because what his interest is it's transactional. What is best for Donald, not what is best for the country, not the will of the people, not the Constitution, not democracy. And we know that. Now, we can argue about what people perceive as facts, but regardless, in my view, I think we got a pretty strong case that no matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat or independent, and I'm a registered independent and have been my whole voting life, have voted both sides of the aisle. But this experience, especially in light of January 6th, is so disturbing to me that I believe that Donald Trump is worthy of every possible lampooning until the day that he punches his ticket. So I would love Pinky in the Brain, not for it to be about Pinky in the Brain and Donald Trump. I would just love to be this recurring knucklehead who gets kiboshed.
Yeah, just a recurring gag, and I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, and I realize it's so easy. It's low hanging fruit because he does it himself. He did it again today. He opens his mouth to change feet. He did it again today where he's, I guess, initiating a lawsuit against Twitter for censoring him. You know, it's got as much chance as being a legitimate case as him being put back in office in August, both of which are not going to happen.
Yeah.
There are lots of people who believe it, but I would love that because it's just, he's taken such a shot at the bedrock of what I'm most proud of in our country. And that would be a blast to take him apart. But apart from that, there are so many great writers. I would love for them to have at it. And I think we'd have a blast doing it.
That's awesome. More of a turtle question for the next one. Dan goes by Inquisitor on Comic Book Movie. He wanted to know a couple of things. The first one he had asked, has voice acting changed much for you between when you did Raphael and then when you came back for Donatello in the next series? Like, did you have a different, I guess, he wants to know, like, between that time, had it changed? Not since that, but the gap between those turtles.
Understood. Great question. And the short answer, which clearly I'm not predisposed to giving, the short answer is no, nothing has changed in terms of my experience or my the way I do my job. The technology obviously has changed like crazy. As much as I prefer being with the other actors because it's not only more fun, but they make me better. I mean, a high tide raises all boats. And if you're in a room with Sean Astin, Seth Green, Greg Sipes, Hoon Lee, you either get better or you're fired. I mean, they're so good. And I'm getting paid and I'm getting better. It's perfect. However, because of the technology, we can all work together. Even if Sean's doing another season of Stranger Things and Seth is doing a movie somewhere or Hoon Lee is working on Warrior. You know, we can all work together in different locations, almost like it's being in the same room. So that's changed a lot. And that still affords us the opportunity to work together, but not miss a gig. You know, we can still work. And I love that. So that's really changed the whole experience a lot. But in terms of how I prepare or how I dive into it or how I interact and play off the other actors, it hasn't changed mine at all.
I love that answer. His next one, and again, these are all turtle based. His next one wanted to know if it was tough for you to get in the VA field as far as TMNT goes, because it was so iconic and you had gotten into that back in the 80s.
Was it hard? Well, that's a subjective term. Hard is trying to get into medical school. You know, hard is working on you live in Arizona, working on a freeway pouring hot tar in Arizona in July. That's hard. Being a cop is hard. Being a teacher is hard. I'm an actor. I chose this. Was it competitive? Absolutely. Super competitive. It's supposed to be. And the upshot is that the audience is the beneficiary, because if 100 actors vie for a role and it's down between 10 and 7 and 5 and 4, presumably you get the best choice. It was no more difficult than the first go around with Turtles. I auditioned with a whole bunch of other people, and I was utterly shocked that I got the gig. I was almost a victim of my own ageism, because for a brief moment, I forgot that nobody gives a shit what I look like or how old I am. When I got Turtles the first go around, I was 31, 32. Not only did I never expect to get another shot at it, but it was 30 years later or 25 years later. And when my agent called me and said, hey, and I work at Nickelodeon a lot anyway, and they said, you know, Nickelodeon has the rights to TMNT. They'd like to have you come in and read if you don't mind. And I said, well, no, I don't mind at all. But do they know who I am? And it wasn't out of arrogance. It was just like, I was on the first go around, and there have been a number of versions of the show that have been done without us, the original cast. And I totally get that. I don't take it personally. It's Joe wants to produce his version of it and hire a bunch of different actors, of course. But they said, no, they know exactly who you are. And they love Raphael, but they also love Pinky and Carl and all these other characters. They just think you'd be great for what they want from Donatello, if you don't mind reading. No. But I had to get out. I had to get over myself. I had to get out of my own way because I was 55 years old. And I thought, well, shit, man. And once I got into the booth, it was clear that the only person who had a problem with my age was me. So I thought, well, you better get over that pretty quick, or you might as well just go home, because it's very competitive. When I got down to the last 7 or 8, I was in an audition process with Justin. Jason. The guy from. I'll get it. John Cryer was in there.
Okay.
Jason Bateman.
Arrested Development.
Actors, yeah, wonderful actors, people of whom I'm a fan. I don't know those guys, but I got to, and I'm like, dude, I'm such a big fan. And to my surprise, well, are you kidding me? Yakko? And wow, you guys, it was really cool. But my point was that Turtles is a big deal. And these guys, John Cryer, after 5 years of his show, and Jason Bateman, they're like, dude, this is Ninja freaking Turtles. We really want this gig. And I ended up getting it. So the point was, it's about the performance. It's not about the age, not about the look. Obviously, it's happened again with Animaniacs. And so that part of it was difficult for me to at first understand, kind of go, I'm 55 years old. And the response was, who cares? We don't. Oh, okay, let's go. And so once I realized that and remembered that, it was a great experience, a turning point for me as I got older to say, dude, nobody cared Mel Blanc was still doing his thing at 78 years old. It's up to you whether you can do it or not. So maybe you should.
And when we spoke the first time, I had seen you I'd seen your TED Talk prior to that. And I remember the first time I saw you as the voice came out of your face. And
Oh,
I don't want to say ageism, but like, for me, I was like, holy shit, like, holy shit, he's still doing it. He's still the
okay.
same. So honestly, for me, I'd rather see someone your age. No
Yeah.
offense. Rather see
No offense at all. I mean, dude, it's the way it goes. I'm closer to the end than the beginning, but I'm not dead yet.
Well, it shows that obviously you've been through this however many times and you still like it. I feel like for ambitious like people who are interested in the voice, it's like, well, this guy obviously loves it. Look how much fun he's having after decades.
Oh God. And to be fair, there are people who say, I've had enough. I totally get it because there's a lot of hustle involved. I have a spectacular publicist. Lori DeWall is world class. We're the same age, and we so understand each other because she's been around a long time in Hollywood and seen how things change. So have I. But I now have an opportunity to cultivate celebrity as a result of all this work I've done to put me in a position where I can do things like public speaking, inspirational speaking with respect to my throat cancer experience, Animaniacs in Concert. Have people say, oh, I'm going to go see Rob Paulsen because they start to know my name, but it requires a whole different set of hustle. It's not just about auditioning. It's about talking to Joe. It's about doing TV interviews. It's about going out there and banging on the door all the time. Because once I open my mouth, I got them. When I get on Jimmy Kimmel or when I get on Jimmy Fallon or when I get on, when I'm a guest on, someday Kelly Clarkson show. I know she's going to know Animaniacs. Of course she is. She's a singer. She's funny. She's creative. She's adorable. As soon as I say, hello, Kelly, she's going to do what you're doing. And I bet some of those people are going to go, oh my God, it's Yakko. So I know I got him, but a lot of people don't know my name. They know all those characters, but that's my challenge and I relish it. There are other people who say, I've had enough. I got plenty of money. I'm done. And that's fine. I'm not one of them. I love to work. I've been rich and I've been poor, and rich is way better. But I love to work. And more importantly, I love to see what happens to my friends like you when these characters come out. It's the most glorious thing in the world. So yeah, I'm in.
Awesome. Now to add to the other question, this one is a bit a bit unusual. They had said he said, you probably don't know this, but was the Rat King in the 2012 version a nod to the movie Willard? They said, I feel like I'm the only one asking the question and haven't heard anything online about it.
Go ahead.
About the, I guess the Rat King in the 2012 version being a nod to the movie Willard. That was the extent of the question.
That you would have to ask Kevin. Well, it's not Kevin Eastman. You'd have to ask Haim Saban or I don't know the people who produced the movie. I don't know if that's a nod to Willard. It doesn't have to be. I mean, the Rat King was a standalone character, and whether or not it was inspired by Willard, I don't know. But I do know that the Rat King. You could ask Kevin, because Kevin and Peter, who created Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, the Rat King was part of the original show. voiced by Townsend Coleman, who was also Michelangelo. But Kevin and Peter would absolutely know whether or not the Rat King was inspired by Willard. I've never heard that, and I would not assume that was true, because Hamato Yoshi was a rat, or was a human who turned into a rat, and the rats were a huge part of the ethos of Ninja Turtles because of where they lived, and the fact that that Master Splinter was turned into a rat. So I don't know that Willard was necessarily in the minds of Kevin and Peter when they created it. That's an interesting theory, but I don't know that has any. There's a connection.
Yeah, and they had said, as they said, I'm probably the only one asking that question.
Well, he is so far. That doesn't mean he or she is the only one who's theorized that. But if you want to get really specific, then it's something you can find Kevin Eastman on Instagram and send him a question, ask him, because it may well be, but it was never brought up. I've never, in, let's see, almost 300 episodes in which I've been involved with Ninja Turtles with 2 different versions, I've never heard, this is a throwback to Willard. Never. And it could be.
So the last one that this is from Renee. Actually, I used to work with her when I was a kid. So there's a bit of an age gap, but she is part of the older fans that love you. She said that Yakko was her favorite.
Good.
She said he's always has been her favorite from Animaniacs, and she was wondering if there might be another movie for Animaniacs, which is funny because we talked about Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah. Well, again, from your lips to God's checkbook. That would be great. The one we did, Wacko's Wish, last time was, I wasn't that crazy about the way it turned out. I thought it was, it was kind of, in my view, kind of done for the sake of doing one. We had a blast doing it. The music was spectacular and it was entertaining, but I didn't feel like it. I don't think it ended up being at the level that it could have been. And I'm sure it was due to money, the fact that the show was starting to, at least with respect to the studio, losing its shelf life. So I would love to do just that. I think an animated Animaniacs movie, all animation, would be fantastic. I think a live action / CGI Pinky and the Brain would be equally fantastic. I don't believe, in my view, that's almost redundant, I don't believe that Animaniacs would translate as well to the CGI thing as well as Pinky and the Brain. I love the cartoon universe of Animaniacs.
I agree.
And I really love to see a 2D version. I love the way Animaniacs is animated now. It's so sharp, and the characters have been tweaked just enough to make them a little more relevant 20 years, 25 years later. And that is due 100% to Mr. Spielberg and Wellesley Wild, our new executive producer. Sam Register, who is now the head of Warner Brothers Animation, Steven Spielberg and Wellesley have done a killer job taking Tom Ruger's genius to another level. Tom Ruger is the fellow who deserves all the credit with Gene McCurdy at the time for getting this whole thing going to the way that we all love it. But Wellesley has taken on something that was very difficult. The bar was really high, and man, did they deliver. You're going to be really hard pressed to find 3 or 4 consecutive reviews that pan the show. It's really good.
Everybody seems to love Hulu. That seems to be one of the top, like you said, I think it's number 1.
Crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And it's really good. So in my view, seeing Animaniacs as a full-blown 2D movie like Lion King with music and everything, I think would be fantastic. and Pinky and the Brain is a live action with Mo and me doing the voice characterizations, I think would be equally just a really wonderful thing to watch.
Yeah, I back that 100% as far as Animaniacs. Like when you had said like Pinky and the Brain, like the live action thing, I was like, that's great. But when we were talking Animaniacs, I was thinking it's got to be a cartoon. And then you said it, and I'm like, okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think it should be a la Disney. It should be killer 2D animation. And to the extent there are famous people involved, I love it when Warner Brothers, Animaniacs did the same thing. And Looney Tunes did the same thing. You take famous people and do fabulous animated caricatures of them and get them to do their own voices. I would love that. I would love Christopher Walken to show up with the Animaniacs doing himself. He's so weird. I need more cowbell. I would love that. I mean, that would be fabulous. So we'll see.
That was such a perfect impression.
Oh, thanks, pal.
That makes me,
I can handle.
That makes me wonder if the Jurassic Park like trailer thing.
Yes.
Wasn't
it great?
Were those the voices of Jeff Goldblum and the others? Or?
No.
Okay.
Jeff Goldblum was Maurice in that.
Oh, and, really?
Yeah. No, wasn't that fantastic? It turned out so good. And that's what I'm talking about. That could be a killer feature.
Right, those kind of caricatures. That's what I meant. As soon as you said that, I was thinking they killed it with the Jurassic Park thing.
Yeah.
To end with Renee, she had said it would be a great honor if she could hear you say her name in Yakko's voice.
I absolutely will. I'll say, hello, Renee. Listen, now that I know that you're a good friend of Joe's, any friend of Joe's, ... I think that you should show up to the water tower in Burbank. Now, you go ahead and climb up that ladder and you get a free ticket for the rest of your life to show up at the water tower. Unless, of course, you're arrested getting on the lot. But don't worry, there are plenty of attorneys in Los Angeles. Most of them are handling divorces. But no problem. We'll get you covered. We'll get you out of jail, maybe. And you can come up and hang out with Wacko, Dot, and me. And just because it's you, Renee, I would like to sing you the gardeners here at the water tower outside. But I'd love to sing an updated verse of Yakko's World for you and your listeners, but this is specifically for your friend Renee. And these are all the countries that have shown up since that song was written. It goes like this. This is for you, Renee. Montenegro and Bosnia, Herzegovina, the Soviet Union is gone. South Africa, Georgia, Moldova, Latvia, Belarus, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, hey, Kazakhstan, hey. Then there's Tajikistan too. Hey, hey, Turkmenistan. Hey, Kurdistan, Armenia, Tonga, Palau, Lithuania, Serbia, Kosovo, US, Samoa, the Balkans, Brunei, Macau and Crimea, then Eritrea, Ukraine and Estonia. Here's Macedonia, New Caledonia, Eastern Slavonia, Ivory Coast and Cape Verde, Andorra, the Solomon Islands, Dubai. Goodbye.
Boom. She's going to die. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not die, but in a good way. That you always go 100% over the bar, and that I imagine that is a huge part of why Animaniacs 2020 was such a success, and is such a success. Because I haven't met Maurice, but I can only imagine that you guys just feed each other's.
Totally, you really do, and frankly, the people who do this work are by and large that same way, because we know how lucky we are, and we're driven by the pure Jones of doing it, just the sake of doing it. Once you get to a certain level, it's not about money, it's not about a paycheck. Don't get me wrong. I've been rich and I've been poor, and rich is way better. But when I meet people who know who I am, or like your friend Renee, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. And I get more out of it than you guys. It makes my day to see somebody with a Pinky and the Brain t-shirt and say, I know you may not believe this, but I'm really Pinky. And they go, holy shit, you sound, wait a minute. Oh my God, I reckon you're Rob Paulsen. I sure am. How are you? Don't tell me you work with the IRS. Nerve. And they flip out. Sometimes they get tearful. I can't wait to do that. So I'm so excited about, seeing how Renee responds. And Billy's the same way. Tress is the same way. it's fantastic.
That's amazing, man. You are amazing, and I can't wait to see how great you guys are in concert.
Thanks. I can't wait to see you. I'll see you in a couple months.
Yeah, month and I think just over, because it's a month after my birthday, so it's going to be a super late birthday party. But did you need to mention anything else that you have going on before we wrap? I know you already said your Yakko.
Oh, I'm just following my podcast, following esports to keep up with it. Animaniacs Live, all my social stuff, my book. You plug that. I'm really working on doing more live events. I've got, I think, between concerts and cons this year, between now and November, I've got, I think, 11 dates. And so people can check it out on all my socials, and I'll let you know where I'm coming. And I can't wait to meet you in person and your beautiful fiance and as many other folks out there as I can.
Literary Joe's Inner Child Podcast.